It's the motherfucking player
Player
haters.
haters.
Ooh, yeah.
Player haters.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, or one lady, the rest gentlemen? Hope everybody's having a good week so far. Happy Monday out there. Let's get into recapping last week, shall we? Because now, more than ever, in my opinion, there is little room for error in your team's quest for sixth place. Simply because last week really kind of threw a couple of teams that felt a little bit more solid in their position. And now it looks like it's a clear running for the top three teams, but more so for Shane and Josh to run away with at least the top two positions. Now, Brian is nipping at Josh's heels 2.5 games back. But the separation from the top three is widening now. Jason and Nick sit 6.5 games back. Is that right? 5. That'd be 6. So they sit 5.5 games back. Excuse me. And because of one team's beat down from Shane, he fell out a half a game. And that'd be Jesus out of the top 6. Whereas, like last week, I would have thought for sure Jesus had a really very concrete, if you will, position in the top 6. And then when you lose by that big of a margin, well, clearly it knocks you out of the top 6. But again, that's why this episode is titled Little Room for Error. And nipping at everyone's heels is Rally Monkeys. 2 games back from Jesus and only 4 games, 2.5 games back from myself. So that's how close it is still for teams like Mandalorians, who's a game and a half back from Walker, and 3.5 games back from Jesus, and therefore 4 games back from me. So each week is crucial down the stretch. And you still can't really count Eric out. He's not eliminated. Neither is Ray or Sean. And Sean had a really good week. It almost was going to be even better. Speaking of which, let's get into last week. Last week, myself and Josh faced off against each other. Josh, of course, got to ride that bitch horse. Yes, you're a bitch, Josh. You just bitched the whole time. I had one day good of hitting, and you just, whined and complained. And, I like the fact that Josh Naylor stole 2 bases on Sunday because I just love that big, beefy baseball boy running. Like, I think it is so funny that that boy steals bases. Anyways, Salvador Perez was again your saving grace last week. 3 home runs, 6 RBIs. He was by far your most productive player outside of Addison Barger. So, I mean, Josh loses for a couple of days Aaron Judge, and, apparently his world goes to shit, but whatever. So yeah. And then of course, the obvious best player on my team was Shohei Ohtani, who again was just gonna hit solo home runs. I mean, look at how many times that boy struck out last week. Okay? The Shohei Ohtani being number one is, I mean, but drafted number one. Ugh. I mean, granted, had somebody selected Aaron Judge, that'd be myself, who knows. But anyways, at any rate, pitching sucks big testicle balls. Jesus got his revenge on apparently a trade that was made where Pena, who is now back on my team, yeah, because Jesus Luzardo and Sonny Gray both shit the fucking bed. So thanks for that one. Appreciate it, Jesus. But 7-4, Josh was victorious. But in my defeat, I was able to get back into sixth place because of this matchup. Trippin' Billies versus Jesus. This was the matchup of the week to watch because these two teams last week were ranked in the top six and our only one. And Shane took care of business. It was close in some categories going into Sunday, but stolen bases, average, OBP looked to have been his pretty much the entire week. He owned the ERA, whip, quality starts, save plus holds, and the wins were very close in the strikeouts. This could have easily been a clean sweep of 12-0. So Jesus walking away with at least two stats was what he needed. But you look at Shane's team is getting hot at the right time. I mean, he's got a solid structure top to bottom. I'm looking not at any zeros from anybody that he played last week. Just good stats from, respectable players and the players that troubleshooters has ridden all season long are no longer producing. Michael Bush is not doing what Michael Bush, was doing earlier on in the season. Tommy Edman has really fallen off. Geraldo Perdomo as well. Kyle Schwarber is a big beefy baseball boy, and he now has Bobby Witt Jr. So there you go. But he's got a strong pitching staff for the most part. And again, just a solid structure that really only Clayton Kershaw is a bad anchor. And Max Fried apparently had a bad day last week for Shane. But Shane walked away 10-2 over Jesus. Another one that was just kind of, wow, where did this come from? Nick got destroyed when you look at, well, I wouldn't say destroyed. I'm sorry. Let me back that up a little bit. 3 runs is not being really destroyed. The average was very close, but Sean just, man, did his team launch the baseballs last week. Wilson Contreras, Cody Bellinger, Julio Rodriguez. Wow. Well, that's a name that not a lot of people talk about. He usually is a second half guy. Lawrence Butler threw up some. Vinny Pasquantino. So many people wrote him off, but man, did he go stupid. And now he's got Ryan McMahon in a Yankees uniform. I think we all kind of could see that going. Nick was very close in losing 2 of the categories that he walked away with as well. Only beat him by 3 strikeouts and 1 win. They tied in quality starts. So again, Sean just really, in my opinion, disrupted a lot of the structure that Nick was and had been building, and it didn't kick him out, but it definitely makes things more interesting down the stretch with the teams that are in, and myself included. 6th, 7th, and 8th really are the ones that I'm thinking of. Myself, Rally Monkeys, and Troubleshooters, and myself. So us 4. So yeah. Moving on to a matchup that ended in a tie, Jason and Scott. This one was a well balanced meal between the two of these guys. Mandalorians was able to take 4 out of the 6. Not a lot of speed for these guys this week, but Jason riding that pitching staff that he's got and was able to walk away with 4 of the 6 in the pitching. So again, a balanced equation here. Not a lot batting wise coming from Jason, and Mandalorian Scott was able to get just enough because these stats were pretty close. Only 1 run separated the two home runs. Stolen bases are also they tied there, and they tied in quality starts. Excuse me. I guess production from Corey Seager, Stephen Kwan, and Jackson Churio were some of the names of mentioned. Trey Turner definitely brought in some runs. And wow, Giancarlo Stanton. All he does is, get home runs. And how about Paul Skeens getting 2 dubs last week? Way to go, Pittsburgh. All right. Moving on to Brian. Took down the Dobson household. Clean sweep. Brian faced off against Ray. This was a home run extravaganza for these two. Wow. 21 home runs for these two. And they tied in runs. He was able to drive in more RBIs with his home runs, I assume. 1 stolen base. So this one was a lot closer than it looks when you look at the score. And then when you look at the ERA and the whip, those were very close. And the quality starts, they tied in. So, but to the victor go the spoils. And Brian riding high. Now he's in 3rd place and looking to try to get up in there in that top 2. Because remember, top 2, you want those because you get the bye weeks. And it guarantees you at least a top 4 ranking in the finals, which doesn't really, equate to anything. Everybody wants to win either the Franklin and maybe the consolation prize. Which, by the way, who has that? Is that Eric or Walker? Do you have that? Who has the consolation? Who has the can of beans? I forgot who got it last year. Big production from C.J. Abrams. He stole 3 bases in one day. I say big production. He only batted 160. Nick Castellanos did very well for her. But, man, that Cal Stowers, man, and Nick Kurtz, big day for him. 4 home runs. Man alive. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. For myself and Croft. So there you go. And last but not least, speaking of Croft, this one was a Sunday night matchup, and it almost looked like it was going to go this way and then that way. Edwin Diaz, he, I believe, walked 2, hit a batter, had bases loaded, and then Edwin Diaz strapped in and said, not today, and got that one final save plus hold that ended up being the deciding factor from a tie to giving Chris the win in that category. But Sunday Night Baseball, man, sucks a dick. But yeah, this one was pretty close again. Runs really went towards Walker. We all know Walker has the potential to put up some big runs. He got some big support from Vladdy and Brandon Nimmo. And Eric, just, man, Mike Trout, O'Neal Cruz. I could have swore a couple of weeks ago O'Neal Cruz was the plague. And Eugenio Suarez was the best third baseman to ever walk the face of the earth until this week when he wasn't. Now that team looks, I say, relatively different without Josh Naylor. But, I mean, shoot, still got Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll, which Corbin Carroll's kind of been lacking a little bit as of late too. I'm telling you, that wrist is probably, still not healed fully. But there you go. That was last week's matchup. That was week 16. And again, now we move into week 17. And Gosh, it's just crazy to think that what we got 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 6 weeks left. 6 weeks of regular season matchups. So, you know, and again, I'll reiterate August 7th, last day for trades. So, I'm probably shit out of luck moving forward. This week, we see myself face off against Jason. This is going to be an interesting matchup between us two, not just because we're in the top six, but I just recently got back in the top six, and Jason's looking to keep me away from being a factor in the playoffs for sure. And he wants to obviously gain more ground on the two boys ahead of him. Shane will face off against brother Scott. Josh will face off against Rayford Peaches. So, Josh is just chomping at the bit, but, heaven forbid if Ray comes out and gets 5 hits in the first, 5 at bats that she sees, Josh's week is just going to be over. Nick and Eric are facing off. Eric would love nothing more than to bring old Nick back down. I want to say that the matchup between these two gentlemen earlier in the season went Eric's way, and I think it ended up affecting Nick. I can just look that up. Let's look that up real quick. Let me just look it up. See what we got here. The matchup between... nope, it only went by 1. So, never mind. Sorry. Spoke out of turn. Eric did win that week. So, he would love to do nothing more than to win again. But I think Eric sees the writing on the wall and he understands I got to win big, and I got to win big down the stretch the rest of the way. So, he would love nothing more than to continue the downward spiral, if you will, of one Nick. Or at least piggyback off of last week. Jesus looks to try to rebound from last week and face off against the Hitman. So will Sean do what Shane did to Jesus, or will Jesus get his revenge on one Pokenis? And Brian looks to really put a damper in his dapper friend Walker. This will be what? Why are you laughing? This is going to be an interesting matchup. If anything, this is another matchup to watch, because these two guys are going to be dialoguing for sure. And we all know Walker has made nothing but statements about I'm coming. And Brian is like, not on this back, you're not. So So, anyways, that's another matchup to watch right there. And that's all I really got to say about that. Hope everybody's having a good week. A lot of trades are happening out there in the world of baseball. I'm seeing some chatter about where's the possible Nolan Arenado going to go. I know the Braves they're buying, but they're buying because they don't have any pitching, but they're buying some dog shit pitchers. Carlos Carrasco and Eric Fetty. Man, that just lubricates my wet dreams every time I think about those two guys. Just Jesus. So, anyways, what else is going on in the world? There's an interesting article that I read earlier today about Bryce Harper, what he said to Rob Manfred about a salary cap in baseball. He basically said, you can get the fuck out of our clubhouse. I don't know if I didn't read the actual article altogether, but basically that was it in a nutshell. I don't know if Robert actually came to the Phillies clubhouse and was having that conversation or what, but that's interesting for sure. That conversation. Did anybody watch the video that I sent off of Twitter? Apparently at a Phillies game. If you're in the upper deck and you want to, finger bang the girl that you're with, go right ahead. Nobody else is going to whip out their phone and record said finger banging. So, just at the next baseball game that you're at, if you feel the need, just get up in that coochie, why not? Jesus. Fucking idiots. Anyways, hope everybody's having a great week, and we'll see you later. That's all I got. I don't think I have anything else. Let me think. It's the motherfucking player. Hey.